What if the food you trusted most to keep your family safe was the very thing putting them in danger? What if the vegetables sitting quietly in your freezer weren't a source of nutrition, but instead a hidden threat spreading across 30 states? Tonight, we reveal the shocking truth about 6 frozen vegetable products pulled from shelves in one of the largest recalls in recent memory. The question is, could any of them be sitting in your kitchen right now? Welcome to BizWorld Explorer, where we uncover the untold stories behind the products you use every day. From hidden dangers to corporate cover-ups, our mission is to protect consumers like you with facts that matter. So, hit that subscribe button and join us as we dive into the world of food safety, business scandals, and the truth the headlines don't always tell. The recall that rocked America. It began quietly, almost unnoticed. A handful of reports trickled in. Families falling sick after eating what should have been safe, everyday frozen vegetables. At first, officials weren't sure if it was coincidence, but when test results came back positive for dangerous pathogens like Listeria, monocytogenes, and Salmonella, the alarm bells rang. 6 brands covering everything from mixed vegetables to green beans and corn were suddenly at the center of a health storm affecting millions of households. The Food and Drug Administration, FDA, and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, immediately launched an investigation. Their findings were chilling: production line failures, cross-contamination, and a lack of proper safety checks had allowed bacteria to sneak into frozen packaging that would end up in freezers across 30 states. The recall notice warned, do not eat, do not serve, and do not sell these products. Yet by the time the announcement went public, thousands of bags had already been purchased and stored away, waiting to be defrosted and served at dinner tables. Brand number 1, Heath Valley Farms. Heath Valley Farms built its reputation on affordability and trust. For decades, their frozen corn, peas, and mixed vegetable bags were staples in family freezers across America. The brand marketed itself as a healthy choice, using cheerful commercials and reassuring slogans to paint a picture of safe, budget-friendly meals. Parents felt confident serving these vegetables to their children, and seniors relied on them for convenient, nutritious dinners. But in July 2025, that image shattered. The Food and Drug Administration, FDA, announced that multiple Heath Valley frozen vegetable products had tested positive for Listeria monocytogenes, a dangerous bacterium known to cause severe illness. The announcement was more than a health notice. It was a warning shot. At least 9 individuals across 3 states were hospitalized after eating these contaminated vegetables. Most victims were elderly, a group especially vulnerable to foodborne pathogens. Families that thought they were eating safe meals were suddenly confronted with the terrifying possibility that dinner had turned into a health hazard. As more details emerged, the public learned that this contamination wasn't a sudden or unpredictable mishap. Inspectors revealed a disturbing pattern of neglect inside the company's packaging facility. Sanitation issues had been flagged repeatedly, yet little was done to correct them. Rusting pipes dripped condensation directly onto conveyor belts where vegetables were processed. Workers reported mold growing near cooling units, creating a breeding ground for harmful bacteria. These red flags were not isolated incidents. They were long-standing problems that management chose to ignore. Instead of pausing operations to fix the facility, Heath Valley kept shipping product, prioritizing sales over consumer safety. The consequences were devastating. Dozens of households across the region unknowingly exposed themselves to Listeria. For healthy adults, the infection can mean days of high fever, nausea, and gastrointestinal pain. But for vulnerable populations, including pregnant women, newborns, the elderly, and those with weakened immune systems, the stakes are much higher. Listeria can cause miscarriages, meningitis, bloodstream infections, and even death. In one heartbreaking case, a family reported that their grandmother, who depended on frozen vegetables for easy meals, was hospitalized with meningitis just days after eating Heath Valley's corn. This outbreak shattered consumer trust. For years, Heath Valley positioned itself as the family-friendly brand. Yet behind the marketing campaigns was a facility plagued with preventable safety issues. The company had countless opportunities to act. Opportunities to upgrade equipment, improve inspections, and respond to whistleblower complaints. Instead, it gambled with public health, and families paid the price. The lesson here is chilling but clear. The cheapest option isn't always the safest. A brand's reassuring slogan or wholesome imagery means little if the supply chain itself is broken. Consumers have every right to expect that the food in their freezer is safe, and when a company fails at such a basic responsibility, the consequences ripple far beyond one recall. For families still looking for affordable frozen vegetables, regulators recommend turning to brands with stronger track records of safety. Bird's Eye and Green Giant, for example, have maintained stricter inspection protocols and faced fewer large-scale recalls in recent years. While no food system is flawless, these companies invest more in facility maintenance and testing, offering a safer choice for households that rely on frozen goods. The Heath Valley Farms recall serves as a painful reminder that behind every bag of vegetables is a chain of decisions. Decisions about safety, cleanliness, and accountability. When companies cut corners, it's not just profits on the line, it's lives. Brand number 2, Fresh Meadow Organics. Fresh Meadow Organics once stood as a shining symbol of health and purity. For years, the company's branding leaned heavily on words like pure, natural, and farm fresh, promising consumers that every bag of spinach, kale, or mixed greens was a safe, wholesome choice. Shoppers who wanted better options for their families often turned to Fresh Meadow, willing to pay a little extra for what they believed was higher quality. But in August 2025, that image was shattered when the company's frozen spinach and kale products were tied to a multi-state outbreak of E-coli O157:H7N. The outbreak sent shockwaves across more than 20 states. At least 14 confirmed cases left consumers hospitalized with severe gastrointestinal illness, and several patients developed hemolytic uremic syndrome, HUS, a serious complication that can cause kidney failure. What made this outbreak especially alarming was the fact that it stemmed from a brand marketed as safer than the rest. For parents and health-conscious shoppers who trusted the organic label, the betrayal cut far deeper than the illnesses themselves. Investigations soon revealed the source of the contamination. The problem traced back to one of Fresh Meadow's supplier farms, where irrigation water had been compromised. Tests showed that runoff containing harmful bacteria had seeped into the fields, contaminating the crops before harvest. This wasn't just a random accident, it was a failure of oversight. Proper monitoring of water sources could have prevented the contamination from reaching consumers. The bigger scandal came when inspectors discovered how the company handled the warning signs. Instead of immediately pulling inventory and halting production, Fresh Meadow continued freezing and distributing the vegetables. By the time authorities intervened, contaminated products had already spread across the country, tucked away in freezers in homes, restaurants, and cafeterias. The delay in action amplified the scale of the outbreak and put countless more families at risk. This case raises an uncomfortable but necessary question. How much faith can consumers place in labels? Words like organic and natural often carry an unspoken promise of safety, but they don't mean pathogen-free. Organic farming practices prohibit certain pesticides and synthetic chemicals, but they cannot guarantee immunity from dangerous bacteria like E. coli. For the average shopper, this nuance is rarely explained. Instead, many assume organic equals safer. Fresh Meadow's outbreak shattered that assumption, proving that pathogens don't discriminate between conventional and organic fields. The psychological impact of this recall was profound. Customers who willingly paid a premium for Fresh Meadow's products felt cheated. They didn't just lose money, they lost trust. For years, the brand had positioned itself as the cleaner, more ethical choice. Yet behind the carefully designed packaging was a chain of oversight failures that endangered lives. Food safety experts emphasize that while organic produce has benefits, consumers should remain vigilant. Washing produce, checking for recall alerts, and avoiding brands with repeated violations are crucial steps. Regulators also recommend choosing companies that publish third-party safety audits and testing data, offering transparency that goes beyond labels. For shoppers seeking safer organic options, brands like Earthbound Farm and Thrive Market Organic have earned stronger reputations. Both companies make their testing protocols public and undergo independent audits, setting a higher bar for accountability. The fresh Meadow Organics recall is a sobering reminder. Trust in food safety should be earned, not assumed. A pretty label can't protect your health. Only rigorous testing, transparent practices, and corporate accountability can. Brand number 3, Golden Fields. Golden Fields found itself at the center of one of the most embarrassing and dangerous food safety scandals of 2025. Unlike other recalls triggered by bacteria or poor sanitation, this one exposed a different but equally deadly problem: mislabeling. For a company that promoted itself as reliable and family-friendly, the fallout was nothing short of disastrous. In September 2025, Golden Fields issued a recall for its vegetable stir-fry blend after shoppers discovered undeclared allergens in the product. Several bags were found to contain traces of peanuts and shellfish, two of the most common and dangerous food allergens, yet neither was listed anywhere on the packaging. For families managing severe allergies, this mistake wasn't minor. Even microscopic amounts of these allergens can cause life-threatening reactions, ranging from anaphylaxis to cardiac arrest. Reports quickly surfaced of consumers being rushed to the hospital after eating what they believed was a safe, plant-based product. Parents described the terrifying experience of watching their children struggle to breathe after a simple dinner. In each case, the families had relied on Golden Fields labeling to make informed choices, and the company had failed them. The FDA's investigation uncovered a shocking truth. The contamination wasn't the result of a freak accident. Golden Fields had been reusing the same processing lines for multiple products, some containing peanuts or shellfish, without implementing proper cleaning protocols in between runs. This led to cross-contact, a preventable mistake that every responsible food manufacturer is trained to avoid. Food safety guidelines require strict separation or thorough sanitization when allergens are involved, precisely because the risks are so high. Golden Fields ignored those standards, and the consequences were swift and severe. What made matters worse was the fact that this wasn't Golden Fields' first offense. Just 2 years earlier, the company had been fined for mislabeling imported frozen peas as locally sourced. While that earlier violation seemed minor compared to undeclared allergens, it revealed a troubling pattern. Golden Fields consistently prioritized profit and convenience over honesty and compliance. Consumers might forgive a single oversight, but repeated failures create an undeniable narrative of negligence. This incident highlights a crucial but often overlooked aspect of food safety. Contamination with bacteria like Listeria or E-coli makes headlines, but labeling errors can be just as deadly. For individuals and families living with allergies, accurate ingredient lists aren't optional. They're life-saving tools. A single mistake can turn an ordinary meal into a medical emergency. Golden Fields' recall underscores the importance of trust between consumers and the brands they buy from. When that trust is broken, it's nearly impossible to repair. The Golden Fields debacle also exposes a larger industry problem: inconsistent accountability. While regulations exist, enforcement often comes after damage has already been done. In this case, it took hospitalizations and consumer complaints before action was taken, leaving many to wonder how many more families might have been harmed if the issue hadn't been reported. For allergy-conscious households, safer alternatives do exist. Smaller, specialized brands like Made Good and Enjoy Life are designed with allergen safety in mind. These companies focus on producing snacks and frozen foods free from common allergens and publish clear, detailed labeling to back their claims. While they may cost a bit more, the peace of mind they provide can't be overstated. Golden Fields' recall stands as a stark reminder that food safety isn't just about eliminating pathogens. It's also about honesty, transparency, and accountability. Without those, no brand can truly be trusted at the dinner table. Mid-CTA. If this story is already giving you chills, make sure to hit the like button. It really helps the channel. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss our terrifying tales. And I'd love to know, what would you do if you were in this situation? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Now let's get back to the story. Brand number 4, Northern Acres. Northern Acres entered grocery store freezers with the kind of branding that resonates deeply with shoppers. a local family-owned company supporting American farms. Their packaging featured pastoral imagery and heartfelt slogans about trust, community, and tradition. For years, many consumers believed they were making a responsible choice by purchasing Northern Acres products. Buying their frozen vegetables felt like supporting neighbors, small-scale farmers, and a wholesome food supply chain. But in October 2025, that comforting illusion collapsed. On October 2nd, Northern Acres recalled its frozen green beans and peas after a random safety test detected Salmonella, a bacteria that can cause severe gastrointestinal illness and, in vulnerable populations, life-threatening complications. By the time the recall was announced, at least 22 cases of foodborne illness had already been reported, spanning both children and seniors. The outbreak underscored how quickly contaminated products can move through the supply chain and into household freezers before regulators catch the problem. The real scandal, however, surfaced in the weeks that followed. Whistleblowers, former employees who had worked inside Northern Acres processing facilities, came forward with alarming claims. According to their accounts, management had been cutting corners for years. Instead of investing in modern equipment or following proper sanitation protocols, supervisors routinely instructed staff to wash down contaminated surfaces with water and bleach while production lines kept moving. This half measure may have created the appearance of cleanliness, but in reality it spread contamination across batch after batch of frozen vegetables. These revelations struck a particularly painful chord with consumers who had chosen Northern Acres precisely because of its family-owned image. The company marketed itself as the honest alternative to big multinational corporations, but its practices told a different story. The shortcuts, negligence, and disregard for safety looked disturbingly similar to the very corporate behaviors Northern Acres claimed to oppose. For families who believed they were buying American and supporting small farms, the betrayal felt personal. Food safety experts note that Salmonella contamination is preventable with proper investment in equipment, sanitation, and oversight. The fact that Northern Acres allowed such dangerous lapses to persist suggests a culture of negligence. Whistleblower testimony revealed that concerns from employees often went ignored, creating an environment where speaking up about safety risks was unwelcome. By choosing to prioritize profit and production speed over consumer protection, the company placed families at risk and undermined the trust that had built its brand. The Northern Acres case highlights a larger truth. Labels and marketing slogans can be misleading. Local and family-owned may sound reassuring, but without transparency and accountability, those claims are little more than advertising. What ultimately matters is whether a brand is committed to rigorous safety practices and is willing to be open about how its food is produced. For consumers who want safer options, experts recommend looking towards smaller regional brands that operate as part of farm cooperatives and publish third-party safety certifications. Companies like Stallbush Island Farms have made transparency a central part of their business, giving shoppers both quality produce and peace of mind. Northern Acres recall is more than just another entry in a list of food safety failures. It's a reminder that trust once broken is nearly impossible to repair. Brand number 5, Pure Harvest Select. Pure Harvest Select carved out its place in the freezer aisle by marketing itself as a premium option. Unlike budget-friendly competitors, the company charged noticeably higher prices, promoting slogans like farm-to-freezer quality and emphasizing its supposed commitment to freshness and safety. For many consumers, the message was clear. If you were willing to pay a little more, you could trust that your family was eating the best. But in November 2025, that premium image came crashing down. The company issued a massive recall of its frozen broccoli and mixed vegetable bags after tests confirmed Listeria monocytogenes contamination. The scope of the recall was staggering. It spanned nearly 30 states and involved over 400,000 bags of product. The numbers alone were enough to alarm consumers, but what investigators uncovered made the situation even worse. The contamination was traced back to a single cold storage facility that Pure Harvest Select had been relying on to house large volumes of product before distribution. Refrigeration units in the facility had been failing repeatedly, allowing temperatures to rise above safe levels. Instead of halting shipments until repairs were made, management pushed forward, continuing to circulate stock that should never have left the warehouse. This decision not only violated basic safety protocols, but also revealed the dangerous gap between the company's marketing promises and its actual practices. For consumers, the betrayal was particularly sharp. People paid extra for Pure Harvest Select, believing that a higher price tag meant stricter standards, better facilities, and tighter oversight. Instead, they discovered that the premium label was little more than a marketing strategy. Families who trusted the brand to deliver safe, high-quality vegetables ended up with products that carried the risk of causing severe illness. Listeria. Infections can be especially dangerous for pregnant women, newborns, seniors, and those with weakened immune systems, leading to complications such as miscarriages, meningitis, or death. The fallout from the recall quickly spread beyond the frozen food aisle. Customers flooded social media with angry posts, expressing both fear and frustration. Some shared personal stories of loved ones getting sick, while others demanded accountability and stricter oversight of food companies that make premium claims. The controversy raised a sobering question. Does paying more at the grocery store actually buy better safety? In the case of Pure Harvest Select, the answer was a resounding no. Food safety experts were quick to point out that higher prices don't automatically guarantee higher standards. True safety depends on rigorous compliance with health regulations, consistent facility maintenance, and transparent oversight. When companies fail to uphold those responsibilities, no amount of branding or glossy packaging can make up for it. For shoppers still looking for organic or premium frozen options, regulators recommend sticking to USDA-certified brands that have a strong track record of compliance and accountability. Woodstock Organic, for example, has consistently maintained cleaner safety records and publishes detailed information about its sourcing and handling practices. The Pure Harvest Select recall is more than just a warning about one company's negligence. It's a reminder that when it comes to food safety, consumers can't rely on price tags or pretty slogans. The only thing that matters is whether a company is willing to put health above profits. Brand number 6, Market Essentials, store brand. Market Essentials, a well-known private label brand, found itself at the center of one of the largest frozen food recalls in recent memory. Unlike premium names or niche organic producers, Market Essentials products are sold under multiple supermarket chains across the country. They appear in discount stores, warehouse clubs, and big box retailers, often positioned as the affordable alternative to name brands. For families navigating high food costs, these private label options can feel like a lifeline. But in December 2025, that trust was shattered. That month, Market Essentials issued a nationwide recall of its frozen mixed vegetable bags after salmonella contamination was confirmed during routine testing. Because the brand operates under different supermarket names, the recall was unusually widespread. Millions of bags of frozen vegetables, already stocked in home freezers, were suddenly flagged as unsafe to eat. At least dozens of consumers across multiple states reported foodborne illness, highlighting the enormous reach of the contaminated products. The scope of this recall revealed one of the hidden risks behind private label grocery products. They often share the same manufacturing plants as multiple other brands. To cut costs, retailers outsource production to large factories, which run massive operations supplying everything from budget store labels to recognizable national names. While the packaging might look different, the source is often identical. The problem is that the pressure to keep costs low can lead to cut corners in safety practices, sanitation, and equipment maintenance. In the case of Market Essentials, those shortcuts turned into a public health crisis. The consequences of salmonella infection can range from days of severe gastrointestinal illness to life-threatening complications for vulnerable populations like young children, seniors, and immunocompromised individuals. For households relying on private label products, the discovery was devastating. What was supposed to be an affordable, family-friendly solution ended up being a hidden danger. For parents watching their children fall sick, the savings at checkout no longer mattered. What made the situation more unsettling was how quickly the contamination spread. Because private label products are distributed through so many retail channels, contaminated bags move through the system faster and more broadly than many brand-specific recalls. A single factory error affected millions of families nationwide, magnifying the risks of centralized production in the private label industry. This scandal also raised bigger questions about consumer assumptions. Shoppers often believe that store brands are simply cheaper versions of name brands, with the same quality but lower marketing costs. In reality, the lower prices sometimes reflect reduced investment in quality control. Without strict oversight, these savings can come at the expense of food safety. For consumers, the Market Essentials recall is a cautionary tale. Affordability should not come at the cost of transparency or accountability. Families who depend on these products deserve to know where their food comes from, how it's produced, and whether suppliers are held to the same standards as major national brands. Experts recommend that shoppers take proactive steps when buying private label products. Checking a retailer's recall history is one simple way to gauge reliability. Some chains, such as Whole Foods 365 and Trader Joe's, are known for maintaining tighter supplier controls and publishing clearer safety standards, offering more peace of mind than lower-cost alternatives. The Market Essentials case serves as a stark reminder. Not all bargains are worth the risk. Behind the promise of savings, there can be hidden costs, ones measured not in dollars, but in health. The bigger picture. This recall isn't just about 6 brands. It's about the hidden dangers in America's food supply chain. From neglected equipment to misleading labels and ignored safety warnings, the frozen vegetable recall has exposed a broken system. The truth is, food recalls will keep happening until companies treat safety as more than a checkbox. Right now, it's consumers, especially seniors, children, and families on tight budgets, who pay the price. Food safety experts recommend checking FDA recall alerts regularly, storing frozen goods properly, and avoiding products from companies with repeated violations. Because at the end of the day, trust in food safety isn't something you can assume, it's something companies must earn. So the question remains, what's really sitting in your freezer right now? Are the vegetables you trust to keep your family healthy actually putting them at risk? Here at BizWorld Explorer, our mission is to make sure you get the truth before it's too late. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss our deep dives into the world of hidden dangers, recalls, and corporate cover-ups. Stay safe, stay informed, and remember, your health is worth more than their profits. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next investigation.